Oh my God, you are not going to believe the story I just found. Like, just picture this for a second. You're 9 months pregnant, right? It's literally your exact due date. And instead of being in a cozy hospital room, you are flat on your back in a dirty apartment parking lot, and this massive dog is literally dragging you by your hair and tearing into your stomach. Like, this actually happened to a woman named Renee Wilson. And honestly, it is a straight up miracle she is even alive to tell anyone about it because, okay, so follow me here. She was just walking out to her car, holding a box with a brand new baby car seat, completely minding her own business, right? Then all of a sudden she hears this crazy, vicious barking, and she looks up and sees 2 huge dogs charging straight at her and her tiny little Chihuahua, Katie. And, you know, Katie is microscopic. Like, she wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds against these dogs. So Renee didn't even think. She just threw her entire body right in front of her dog to protect her. And that, my friend, is exactly where everything went completely south. Now look at what happens next. Because the dogs totally turned on her instead. At first, she tries to swing her keychain at them to back them off, but it did absolutely nothing to them, and right there is when the horrific happened. Like, one of them lunges and clamps its jaws right onto her arm, but here's the thing you don't realize about the way these attacks go down. Dogs don't just bite you once and walk away like that. Instead, this thing bit her, let go, jumped back up again, and went straight for something a million times worse, which was her pregnant belly. And before she could even process what was happening, she got dragged down to the pavement by her hair.
Yeah, I thought we were both going to die. I was on the ground and I was being dragged, and that's when he just started biting at my belly, and I was screaming for help. In that moment, all I was concerned with was my belly. Once it latched onto my belly, the other dog latched onto my left ankle.
Like, just try to picture how terrifying that is as we look at this scene, being fully pregnant, pinned to the ground behind these parked cars, and yanked around by your hair while a massive dog is literally sinking its teeth into your stomach, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs, begging them, calling for help, and the whole thing lasted maybe a minute or 2. But let's be real. When you think you are actively being killed, 2 minutes feels like an absolute eternity, and the absolute most heartbreaking part is that nobody came out to help right away, so for those first horrible moments, it was just her alone. But thank God, this is where the story shifts, because a neighbor finally heard her screaming, and get this, the guy actually admitted later that he is deathly, completely terrified of dogs, but he ran toward the screams anyway. Like, he sprinted over, grabbed this massive American bully by the back of its neck, and literally ripped it off her. The dog tried to charge back at her stomach, but he slammed it into the ground and held it down, and by then, other neighbors were finally running outside dialing 911.
There's a dog attack. We were attacking a pregnant woman.
She was already on the ground when I got there. I grabbed the pit bull by the scruff of its neck and pulled it back. And then it tried to move forward again, so I kind of just threw it down to the ground.
She's like, they bit me on my stomach, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know? She's like, I'm due today.
They ran up and they tried to attack my Chihuahua. So I jumped in front of her to stop them from attacking her. It kept latching back on to places after it would bite me. So it bit my arm, then jumped back up and attacked my belly. When I fell to the ground, the other dog grabbed my other leg. They started dragging me, grabbed me by my hair. The dogs had been attacking me for at least a minute or 2 while I was screaming for help, you know.
Neighbors eventually heard the screams, including a man with a broom and a woman.
She was kind of afraid of the dogs, but she still attempted to help me. I begged her for help. I told her that's when the dog had my belly in his mouth. And I was telling her I was pregnant. Please help. Don't let him kill my baby.
So by the time the ambulance rushed her to the ER, the doctors took one look at the deep, bloody puncture wounds all over her pregnant stomach and completely panicked. Because of the insane risk of infection and the danger to the baby, they couldn't wait even a second, so they had to induce her labor right then and there. And the very next day, her son Armani was born, and he was healthy, he was happy. And honestly, holding him was the only thing keeping Renee from completely losing her mind, because for a minute there, he was the only good thing left in her world. But let's dive into the awful twist that nobody ever tells you about with these kinds of attacks. Because it's not just the wounds you can see on the outside, you know? A dog's mouth is filled with disgusting bacteria, and when they bite and hold, they drive that bacteria deep into your muscle. So because that dog kept biting and releasing her, it left dozens of hidden entry points for infection to literally rot her body from the inside out. Sure enough, a few days later, she ended up with MRSA, which is this terrifying, super dangerous staph infection that basically laughs at normal antibiotics. And on top of that, she got cellulitis, which is this deep infection spreading through her tissue. And if you don't catch that stuff, it hits your bloodstream, and it will kill you just as dead as the dogs almost did. And because of all that, let's look at how her life completely fell apart inside that hospital. Like, days turned into weeks, and she couldn't go home, and she completely lost all feeling and movement in her right leg. So she's currently stuck doing intense, painful physical therapy, just trying to relearn how to walk. And you want to know the most frustrating, infuriating part of this whole thing? Right after the attack happened, the owner of the dogs just casually strolled up, grabbed the pit bulls, and basically just walked away like it was absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, Renee is stuck in a hospital bed, fighting off a lethal infection crawling through her body. And if you saw the damage, it would literally make your stomach turn, because on one side of her body, there are literally 2 massive open holes, 2 big holes on a woman who just gave birth. And because she's completely trapped in that bed, her sister is the one taking care of baby Armani right now, because Renee physically just can't do it. And it breaks her heart. And she literally tries to laugh about it so she doesn't start sobbing. But she hasn't even gotten to properly bond with her newborn baby yet, and just has to look at him from a distance and say, "I love you, Armani." Like, that's the part that really sticks with you. Because she's a mother of 4 with 3 other kids at home who desperately need their mom, and instead, she was lying in a cold hospital bed, just days after giving birth, feeling so incredibly lonely and wishing she could just be home.
So I'm kind of lonely. I miss him. I wish I was able to be with him. I wish he was able to be here.
Now, if you think this story is already bad enough, let me take you to where it gets incredibly dark, because to this very day, Renee has no idea who actually owns those dogs, and she was literally mauled by animals whose owners she has never even seen face to face. But animal control confirmed something later that makes your blood boil, because those dogs got loose through a broken board in a backyard fence. A broken fence, that's it. That was the whole containment system that led to a pregnant woman getting mauled on her due date. And the owners already knew it was broken. Like, they knew the fence was rotted and they just chose to ignore it, so Renee had to pay for their absolute laziness with her body and very nearly with the life of her son. The dogs, an American Pit Bull Terrier and an American Bully, are quarantined right now while the state investigates, and the state recommended humane euthanasia, but the owners still have a window to appeal it in front of a judge to try and save them. And what about the owners themselves? Like, let's look at what happens to them. What is the actual legal punishment for letting your broken fence almost kill a pregnant woman and her baby? A couple of misdemeanor charges, a citation for not licensing the dogs, and a small fine for letting them run loose. And do you want to know what it all adds up to? Around $2,000. That is the exact dollar amount the law put on her trauma. $2,000. Needless to say, she is suing them in civil court. Because a cheap plastic fine is not what accountability looks like. And her medical bills are already stacking up like crazy, so she's had to put up a GoFundMe just to try and stay afloat. Somewhere out there, neighbors are still living next to that exact same broken fence, completely clueless. And even though Renee survived and her baby boy survived, what survival actually cost her, the infections in her blood, the leg she can barely use, and the precious days she lost with her newborn, all happened because someone looked at a broken piece of wood and decided it could wait. So seriously, if you have a dangerous animal, fix your fence, because your laziness could cost someone else everything.